everybody. It's Linda G, and I'm here with Sterling. Been a long time, Sterling.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, great to be back on the home front here. Yeah,
I couldn't do their Easter one because we went to a brunch.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
we lost a Sunday, so I miss it.
Oh, good. So do I. It's always good getting together. Yeah.
Just to catch up and see how everybody's doing. Okay, and thank you to Linda and Dan.
Exactly. They work behind the scenes and collate all the questions, and they do a great job. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so here's our questions, and thank you guys for all the questions. Will Fox News listener get a public apology on air from their host to in acknowledgement of the deliberate lies they told regarding the 2020 election?
No, not directly, but what I get is there's legal cases coming for the host. And so in an odd sort of a way, by the legal problems and the court cases for the host, it's like the public will get an indirect apology, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You know, once it goes to litigation and then they get convicted of some of these things, you know, indirectly it'll be like a forced apology. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if this is in here, but since we're on the subject, do you think they're going to get rid of Janine and there's another host they're talking about?
Maria
Yeah.
Bartiromo.
Are they? I heard they're getting rid of it.
It looks to me like by the end of this year, the decisions will be made to kind of remove them by the end. So whether they just get removed by the end of the year or into next year, I don't know where the contracts are up, but looks like they'll shift.
But I feel they're already very mad at Fox because they're putting the blame on them, and they really didn't have anything to do with it. They did repeat the lies, but other people did it too.
Sure. No, it's so that's all when we're involved in like a syndicate of lies. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
So.
Will for-profit healthcare systems ever be outlawed? Will these organizations ever truly be held accountable by our government?
No, I don't get they'll ever be outlawed. But what I do get over the next 5 to 10 years here, very increased competition from some publicly funded healthcare systems. And so that competition will drive more fair behavior. It's like if you don't have a lot of competition, then you're more of a monopoly. So the increased competition from public programs and publicly run hospitals or institutions are telling me will then create a better balance. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Will the ridiculous stand your ground laws ever be overturned?
No, not overturned. But here's the interesting thing. What I see is very large lawsuits being won in court against people that take, you know, are trigger happy.
Right.
And so these large cases and prison time is going to kind of move everybody to move away from being so radical about the stand your ground. Like, you know, like the one gentleman, I forget what state it was in, but he rang the doorbell looking for his brother and then got shot.
That's terrible.
Right. So that is, I see these lawsuits getting very public and then people kind of backing down away from the stand your ground. They'll still exist, but they won't be so trigger happy is what they're telling me. Yeah.
And you may have answered this before, but I just need to ask you, will it come a time that if you own a gun, you have to have insurance on it?
100%. I've always seen that eventually, not too in the distant future, we'll have like a DMV program, like Department of Motor Vehicles program for guns. So they won't take away the guns, but you have to have them registered. You have to have a permit. You have to, you know, it's a more of kind of keeping everybody in check. So, you know, you're not underage buying a gun, no training. A lot of craziness going on.
That's very good. You have to, you know, make sure it's secured, etc. Do you see Biden running for president for 2024?
100%.
Yeah, I think he's announcing this week. Chicago teen chaos. Why is this happening, and how can we I don't know what that means. How can we
help it?
Why
maybe
is it happening, and how
help
can
it
we
or fix
help
it?
Yeah. What's the Chicago teen crisis?
Well, I was in the news, I think, this past week that there were a very large group of teens that took over the Chicago Loop, I think it was, and caused a lot of chaos and break-ins in stores and cars. But You know what I see there over the next 12 to 24 months with Chicago is because of the new mayor coming in
Yeah,
and new federal and state budgets. It looks like they'll have better social programs for teens, so kind of redirecting their energy, as well as kind of an enhanced, I'll call it police support infrastructure. So you're not deploying always police with weapons, but you're deploying social workers on behalf of the police department to try to diffuse situations. So there's a shift coming, kind of the social engagement I get. So for Chicago, it looks like it's going to be a year to 2 years here, but the new mayor will be very helpful.
that's great.
Yeah.
Can you manifest something for someone else, like a badly needed job or peace of mind, etc.?
Yeah, it's interesting. Your guides and angels can absolutely work with their guides and angels and almost have, a team get together and say, need a little bit of help. So what they'll do is they'll throw a bone in front of them. So if you're trying to help them get a job, they'll get a phone call randomly from the company they want to work with. That's your guides working with their guides. So in that sense, you can help them manifest. Yeah.
Right. That's wonderful. My question is about prayers for the dying. Do they help with their transition?
Yeah, absolutely. That gives you kind of an energetic push of love. It does. It takes away fear. Yeah, all those things can be very helpful. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Oh, this is a good one. Will Prince Harry win his lawsuit against the UK tabloids in the Daily Mail?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, I think there's probably half a dozen other famous people. Elton John, I think, is one of them. They're all going to win the lawsuits. They will.
Fantastic. They just keep lying. This is what's happening in this country with Fox News.
Right.
Israel created a 3D printed heart. Do you foresee the U.S. following suit for a heart or other organ body parts?
Yes, and actually, I've covered this on my shows a number of months ago, even. But that 3D printed organs are going to be a thing coming up here very shortly for all organs, livers and lungs and all sorts of body parts. So 3D biological printing is going to be a very mainstay element of the medical industry, and already is being done worldwide. So now everybody's making hearts. Some people are making livers and lungs and even eyes. So it's all coming.
That's great. What happens to One American News and Newsmax, since it appears Fox News viewers prefer to switch stations rather than hear the truth? What do the Fox viewers do?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, what does Fox do? I don't know. A confusing question. However, it looks like Fox is going to lose, maybe 20% of their audience, but the other 80% is willing to give them a pass, a hall pass, and say, well, they kind of didn't know the truth, or they weren't lying, or they give them a pass. So, yeah. And by the way, notwithstanding, Fox News is not coming out publicly and falling on the sword, so to speak. So, yeah.
What's happening with Georgia case against 45? Did someone flip?
I get it, still moving ahead, full speed ahead. That's with Fani Willis, full speed ahead. So I'm not sure whoever asked that question. Did somebody flip? Here's the thing. I do see more people coming forward to substantiate the case in Georgia. So in a related sense, there are individuals that have flipped. There are in the 45 camp. Mm-hmm.
They're even saying that tape that he did about all I need is this many votes. Mm-hmm. There's other information coming out, including tapes that are worse than that.
Oh, very true. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Some sort of RICO. I don't know what that means.
What's interesting right now is a footnote comment regarding artificial intelligence technology. You can now completely recreate someone's voice. So they can actually take a sample of your voice,
right,
and then create a whole phone call that sounds exactly like you. And there's cases of this now where I think the federal government's onto this, but one particular woman had her daughter, there was a kidnapper or potential scammer that called her and called the mother and said, look, we have your daughter. We're holding her hostage. We need $1 million. And they played the tape that they had created artificially of the daughter's voice. I don't know where they get the daughter's voice, but even included crying on the phone. And the mother was completely sold. It sounded like her daughter. But luckily, she immediately called, the daughter. The daughter said, no, that's not me. So the AI technology is getting very, very strong. The reason I'm mentioning that in an odd sort of a way, if Trump was thinking outside the box, he would say that was artificial intelligence 45, not me making the phone call. It's just where technology is going is very strange right now.
Right,
So
right. Okay, so do you see Dominion will try to sue Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, etc., independently from the main lawsuit that was just settled?
I do. Yeah, I do
I
see
thought it
separate.
was ongoing.
I do see separate civil suits. And I also see that Fox Corporation won't be able to shield them from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will Western New York upstate have to worry about severe weather this year?
Unfortunately, the answer to that's yes. Yeah. More ice storms. Yeah.
How will Robert Kennedy Jr. do in the bid for president in 2024?
I'm getting it's going to fizzle out.
That's what
Fizzle out.
I'm telling you, it's a nothing burger.
They just told me fizzle out. So that means he's in there for a little while, months, and then it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't
well, that even his
order.
own family won't stand for him
Yeah.
because he's kind of lost his mind. It's a shame, I love Robert Kennedy.
It is. Yeah.
Senator Whitehouse has been exposing the dark money that is backing the Republican Supreme Justices. Will there be any changes in the law to get rid of the dark money?
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at what's happening now in the Supreme Court, there's going to be more ethics rules and more laws that completely put guardrails around trading stocks and all these things. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to make him step up to the plate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you see, I don't know if it's here, but did you see Thomas having to step down or exiting stage left?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we had talked about this years ago.
Yeah. No, in fact, yeah, at least a couple of years ago, it felt like for entertainment purposes only, Thomas and Kavanaugh were going to be the first two to go, followed by potentially Roberts making the transition.
That's what I was feeling too.
Saying that, I've kind of had enough, check please. Yeah.
Well, I feel Thomas is under so much pressure because my vision was him opening a book and it was of his finances. And if he could comfortably retire, like he could just say, I'm retiring. But he doesn't want to retire while Biden's in office.
Yeah, I don't know if I get the tie in there, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I think he's conflicted about a lot of things right now going on in the court.
Especially because his wife is in trouble too.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Sterling and Linda. I was given my name at birth by my parents, as most of us were. Since we have many lifetimes, we undoubtedly have many names. My question is, while we are in spirit, do we have one name that remains the same? And is there a way we can learn our spirit name while in human form?
Good question. I've always asked this of my team, and there's always a unique spiritual DNA related name we have on the other side, but it's not a human name. So human names that we assign to, let's say, even ourselves here on earth or guides and angels, they don't use names on the other side. So you recognize each other from your spiritual DNA. It almost is more tuned to light language. So there isn't a physical name. Yeah.
That's what I had picked up too. And I had picked up that that like my guides, they always say, what's the name of my guides? I don't pick up names for guides.
No, they don't have names.
Like their language is such that we couldn't interpret it in human form.
That's very true. But you recognize on the other side, you recognize that unique spiritual DNA. It's almost analogous to a QR code. You know, a QR code.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, you look at a QR code, you can't make a name out of that. But if you hold your phone up to it, it decodes it. So, yeah.
Because also my guides had showed me when people leave their bodies, they're light.
Mm-hmm.
And within each of them is the actual, like you said, the code. I almost saw a little disc situation.
QR code you're talking about?
Yeah, but they said to me, and that contains all your history, all your lives, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That. You carry it in your soul body. Sometimes in the human form, you can recall something from the soul body, but mostly that is in this little disc. Well,
I agree.
Really a disc, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, my question is regarding reincarnation. Okay, regarding reincarnation. Hold on one second. Oh, here it is. I almost thought I lost the second page. How far back can we go? Cavemen or before Christ?
Believe it, I'm not quite sure I interpret that question correctly. Are they talking about like a past life regression? Like how far
Yes.
can you go back for past life regression?
Yes,
Go back as far as necessary. Yeah.
that's what I was feeling too.
I didn't understand what they were asking in that question,
And
but
some people even have remembrance of Atlantis and stuff.
oh, sure, sure. If it's related to past life regression, you can go back as many lifetimes as necessary as you want. Sure.
Okay. Will Katie Porter win the Senate seat that she's trying for?
I've read on this before, and I don't see it.
don't either.
And
I like
do,
her, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I see Adam Schiff taking that position. I always saw initially when she was starting to run, my team was saying it's going to be a male that's going to win the seat.
Okay.
And then it for me, it became clear that it was Adam Schiff. Looks like he's going to get the seat. However, Katie's still going to do well. I feel like in another few years here, there's another like congressional seat.
Opportunity.
She like the second round for her, she's going to get. So
Okay. Did you? I didn't see if you had predicted if Dianne Feinstein would step down or.
I do see that. Yeah, I do see that in short order here. It looks like due to health problems, unfortunately, a wonderful person, but it looks like the health issues are going to be a little more insurmountable and it's going to be harder for her to kind of, function. So, yeah.
I felt psychically, I
Mhm.
felt that she was angry that the Republicans said, no, we're not going to replace her. And so I see her putting on these ragged clothes and she looks horrible and forcing herself back into the Senate and being
Yeah.
able to vote on some things. And then I saw her collapsing.
Yeah, and that would align with what my team's telling me is that she has declining health problems, unfortunately. A wonderful person, did some great stuff for the world and
stuff.
the nation. But it's just the health is going to be a problem here. And it looks like a step down fairly soon. And it does look like Governor Newsom gets involved with some sort of a temporary replacement or something.
Right.
And then it goes on from there. Yeah.
When our pets pass, do they stay with us until we pass? Or do they reincarnate to the next family?
No, normally I see pets very aligned to our extended spiritual families. So a lot of times they'll still be around us in this lifetime and even come back in this lifetime. So I very rarely do I see a core pet that we've had in our lifetime then move to a whole nother spiritual family. It looks like they stay with us for the most part during our lifetime.
Okay. Can Joe Biden get more picks for Supreme Court in second term?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do see it. Yeah.
Do extraterrestrials have families as we do? Also, do they reincarnate?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, there's mothers, fathers, babies, children, grandparents. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the same structures, and they reincarnate, but they live 200 to 400 years. So
Okay.
much longer lifespans than we do. But humanity will actually get to that point at some point. It's due to all the advances in medical treatment and biology that allows ETs to live that long. So
isn't that something? What's going to happen to North Carolina now that Tricia Cotham switched from Democrat to Republican, giving the state legislature a veto-proof supermajority? Are they going to pass bills taking away our rights?
Well, unfortunately, for the next couple of years, unfortunately, that's going to be the case. So everybody's got to really bear down and fight hard. I think there was even something in the news. I think when the first thing she was supporting was a bill against transgender. There was a transgender bill that she was going against. So even right out of the box. Anyway, so it's everybody bear down. We're all going to get through it.
So then what happens is the people speak.
Right.
After Mitch McConnell returns to the Senate, will he stay long or will he be gone before the next election?
I've always seen he's not going to make it through the term he's in, which I think is up in 2027. He's not going to make it through the whole term. I think that's when the next vote is for him, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, so it looks like maybe he's there another 8 to 12 months, something like that, and then he's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will conservatives win the next federal election in Canada?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
will Fox be sued for COVID misinformation?
Yes.
Okay.
And looks like it's already ongoing. So I don't think that's even new. It looks like there's going to be an onslaught of more lawsuits. Yeah.
And I'm adding this question. That
Mhm.
pill that went before Congress and they put a stay on it,
Mifepristone.
is that going to not be stopped or?
Correct. And I've read on that a couple of times at the Supreme Court. I saw them getting out of the way of it temporarily here for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So it'll still be available. And it does look like they'll end up sending it back down to the states. So it'll get fought out in the states. And then long term, looks like the pill will still be available.
I
Now,
never saw it being stopped.
right. And the reason it's interesting, there's two reasons I always get why it's going to be made available.
Wow.
One is a huge public outcry. That's one of the things. The other thing is there's a financial markets perspective to it. A lot of the big pharma companies are saying, wait a second, when we invest billions of dollars into drugs and the FDA clears it, and then one person, one rogue judge says no, that completely upsets the financial apple cart, right? So big pharma companies now their stocks. So unfortunately, there's a big economic tie-in with it, but it still ends up being goodwill for everybody. The women will have that pill available. Yeah.
It's almost ridiculous what these people did, what that judge said.
Of course.
So it's like the one in Florida that was for Trump. What is coming up for the next week?
Well, I still see a lot of activity in Ukraine. So a lot of aerial fighting going on in Ukraine coming up this week. A lot of aerial Russian attacks. The good news is, though, I see much more aerial ground warfare coming from Ukraine. So a better aerial weapons, ground-based weapons coming into Ukraine from various places. I see aggressively tanks making their way in, both American tanks and other types of tanks. So good ground warfare that's coming in. I also see another vaccine coming up here very shortly, and this will be the one that'll carry everybody through the end of the year. This will be a COVID vaccine. It looks like, well, this will be the real big one that'll finally kind of take care of most of what's left of all the Omicron variants. So that's coming up.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, so a big week in many areas. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have any message?
Oh, they're telling me, sorry.
Okay.
More information coming out on new Supreme Court justices. That is more information coming out on our SCOTUS regarding new improprieties. So it looks like other justices are now going to be coming to the limelight of other backroom transactions going on. So there's something coming on the news here this week of you'll be surprised. So.
Thank you to Sheldon Whitehouse, but I just kept seeing shovels.
Mm-hmm.
So they're shoveling up the dirt. But
absolutely.
Even look at what happened in Tennessee when they got rid of those two young men for speaking their piece. And
Justin Jones and Justin Pearson.
Yes. Yeah. And these guys have some futures.
Sure.
What's interesting is that Speaker, now they're finding out all kinds of stuff on him. That he voted from a county that made him ineligible for the seat he has, that he doesn't pay his property taxes, that he's having an affair. All this stuff came out because they did it to themselves.
Absolutely. And didn't one state house representative just step down this week?
Yes.
Because he was having a Me Too movement where they're interns. It was sexual, so it's all starting to unravel in many areas. Yeah.
Right. But they didn't get rid of him. They got rid of the two.
Right. Yeah. Crazy.
So do you have any messages your guides want to share?
I do. A simple message this week. Stand your ground in truth and the universe will never let you down.
Okay.
So it means, hang to truth, whether any facet of your life, whether it's family members or things in politics or things you believe, stand in truth, kind of weather the storm, and the universe will never let you down.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love what your guide kept to say.
Well, thanks.
So, in about 2 weeks.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah.
And then I think the Sunday after that, I'm in Sedona, my last trip to Sedona.
Oh, great. Congratulations on that.
We'll do the end of the month. So
sure.
Oh my gosh. It's just always so wonderful being with you.
Oh, good. Yeah. A pleasure. It's always great getting together. You're like family. Absolutely like family.
Yeah,
A real quick note, just for people that need to reach me, we do have a
Yes.
YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium. And then if you need to reach me, go to the website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com, and then look for the book a session tab. It's very easy. So,
yes. And I still get great feedback about your sessions.
oh, great. And likewise, I end up reading a lot of people that said, I've had, 3 readings with Linda, and here's
Ah.
this and that, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all great.
And a lot of times they say, you and I said the exact same thing.
It happens all the time. A lot of time people won't tell me they had readings with you. We'll have a session with them, and then they'll say, "Oh, that's exactly what Linda Grindle told me."
Yeah.
So that's great. I love the fact that our guides.
I love it because our guides are tapping in the same.
They are.
system.
They are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! But thank you so much, my friend.
All
And
the best.
he has a YouTube. It's actually pretty nice. It's fancy schmancy. You have that great intro. I love it.
We developed that intro. We change it up every week, but we developed it so that it kind of discusses the range of topics that we cover on the channel. That's really, so if you're new to the channel, it kind of gives you a feel for the range of topics. So
I don't have that kind of. I can't do that stuff.
I'll teach you.
You probably could too, because anytime I've been stuck, you guys, who's the first person I go to?
Yeah.
Sterling.
All good.
Thank you so much.
All right. Wonderful.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.